Hey friends, I'm continuing on my competitive live commentary series where I pick a rank like gold and guess what their strongest warrior would be through my own experiences in the playlist and what I think players are choosing. What is their most popular build? Why did players come to this conclusion? Now, if I say this is gold's strongest warrior, I'm not calling you a noob. I use this loadout all the time in Ascendant games because it still gets the job done. But this is in gold's specific meta extremely effective because at gold, this is where you can end up at the end of your placement matches. So this means that this is one of the first ranks where you start to match what would be Ascendant players under the hood earlier than usual. So these players kind of look for a junk food method to very quickly get the kill without becoming a more well-rounded player that uses their gun as much. So this is ability first, gun second. Sometimes there's the opposite type of player in gold where it's gun first, ability second because they're more of an FPS centric player. They have that dexterity, but not necessarily the game knowledge of Destiny 2, so they might be stuck in gold. So today's build, I use this one all the time. This is Osmiomancy Gloves with Cold Snap, but the addition of a turret. And why the turret hangs in gold more than other ranks is because nobody shoots at equipment in gold. They look at lightning grenades on the wall and just let them sit there. They'll stare at a Titan through a barricade and start like teabagging or dance emoting or something when you could just be shooting it as a team. So that's why Bleak Watcher reigns supreme in gold. It's a very junk food method of you just throw it across the map. It slows the player, and when the player's slowed, they can't do anything. Like they might already be struggling to shoot, and now when they're slowed and getting peppered by the slow, about to take a freeze, they're not able to strafe with their gun. They can hardly use it effectively anyway. They're going to get gunned even if the player shooting at them also doesn't have that great of gun skill. So the theme of silver, the theme of gold is ability spam for the win. But I'm also acknowledging that there can be a player in that rank that is more gun skill first and Destiny knowledge second, but it equalizes to the same rank. So let's talk about this build. Cold Snap Grenade is amazing because once it lands on the floor, it freezes and then it chains the freeze. And so sometimes you can just jump over your first frozen target and like punch a second target, which will activate, in today's build, blunt execution rounds, which can lead to a 2-burst, or it can help reactivate the perk where you use the enhanced damage to shoot him in the head and then follow up with a melee immediately. The other gun I like to use is a Vis Defiant with Swashbuckler. So I can get that, what is it, like 0.67 time to kill or something like that after a punch. It's very, very nice. And I believe if I run over some armor charge or something like that, it could even go to a 0.5, but something like that. Don't worry about that. I know someone in the comment section's already saying like, Cam, there is never going to be a gold player that has stat splits like that. But I would disagree with this. Gold is a very common rank in this game, and not every player just plays PvP in this game. There might be someone who raids 99% of the time, but they're just dipping their toes into competitive, and the little amount of time they spend in competitive, they are truly a gold rank, despite having all this gear and maybe even conditional finality instead of Witherhoard. I'm using Witherhoard because it is yet again another junk food way of getting kills, especially when combined with the slow of the turret or the freezes. As long as you just put Witherhoard at your feet and you're in a healing grip, there's a good chance you win that brawl at these gold levels. I mean, it works in Ascendant still, so it definitely works in gold. It's also a really good zoning tool when combined with the turrets, where you can have a turret on the top floor and a Witherhoard at the door entrance on the bottom floor of a map or something like that. And in that time, you can have an extra couple seconds to pull power ammo. Or you use the Witherhoard to make opponents go, oh, I can't go through this door yet. Let's just wait here as a team until that Witherhoard goes away. Then we're all going to fly forward. And they fly forward into like a freeze rift, a freeze melee, a cold snap. Also, speaking of, I have Freeze Rift as well. Freeze Rift is incredible. It's essentially a shotgun. And now let's talk about why Shadebinder sometimes doesn't hang at the top level. First and foremost, I think if you study the dark magic of throwing turrets on the ceiling and learning maps really, really nerdy, this can be beyond hanging. This can ruin people's Trials cards if you use that strategy. But I don't advise on it because it doesn't make you as well-rounded of a player. So when I am playing somewhat normally, here's how it falls flat. Number one, cold snap grenades are not your friends. They are RNG. This is a slot machine grenade, and it is because the grenade gets stuck in the floor sometimes and doesn't activate. This can be your savior or it can ruin your match. And I don't like the inconsistency of that. So if I had to rebuild this for modern Destiny, I would probably go Stag. I would go Claws of Ahamkara. I would go Eye of Another World. I'd even switch to Glacier or Dustfield. However, Cold Snap is one of the extra tools in your kit to deal with the super. So there is that trade-off, and it is pretty consistent if you open with like a freeze rift or a freeze melee and follow up with the cold snap for the refreeze. Because if you physically hit their body with the cold snap, they get slowed for a second, which means they can't jump away from the cold snap. So yeah, this grenade being RNG, it's either going to fail you or your opponents are just going to jump. And unlike the suspend slam or the grapple melee, this you can reasonably jump and time your jump in a way to where even if your teammate magically gets frozen, you're still not going to get frozen second. Second part of this is sometimes getting frozen isn't necessarily a bad thing. If it's far enough away from your opponent, sometimes the Shadebinder will try to close that gap to take advantage of a freeze that is not good enough, and they will just get slug shotgunned or something like that. Next up is the freeze rip. This is like the most classic bait. You know the Shadebinder's around the corner, so you run up a couple meters, then you stop. Then the Shadebinder throws the rift, then you continue your aggression. That's how it goes at the high level. They don't just straight line you. They go serpentine. They delay their movement a little bit. They jump so high above your head that even if you freeze them, it is a really difficult shot to kill the freeze or to follow up with the melee. And then also Ice Flare Bullets, I would say, is very decent at the top level too if you want to ditch the turret. Then finally the super. This is probably the best super in the entire game. I know someone's going to say, but how does it beat Well of Radiance? The answer is you can freeze the Well Sword and use the right trigger detonation or mouse 2 detonation, and if you do that a couple times, it'll break the well. Granted, I don't really want to use this super against a well. I will try my best to concede against a well, and I will let Witherhoard or Conditional Finality be my main answer to well. Ideally, I want to pop this before middle zone and trials even happens and just spray some freeze towards the opponent's spawn to keep the well out of the middle of the map. Pro tip with the super is you can hug a wall and just have your staff exposed on the right side of your character model, which means that you can essentially be 100% safe while dealing some freezes. Another tip is it sends out 2 projectiles. You can split those projectiles very easily on mouse and keyboard, one in front of you, one behind you, or you can only send 1 projectile out and immediately hit the mouse 2 detonation. See, as we get deeper into this competitive series, there can be a lot more depth with some of these classes. And some of the other classes that I'll show you in Adept, Platinum, whatever, they're going to be more Unga Boonga, my gun skill is better than your gun skill. And that's like the class in general. So that one will be pretty quick. This one is junk food at a lower level, but very, very, very risk reward at a high level. If you know what you're doing, you can win the game. But against some of the best players in the game, they have a clue of what you're up to, and they do everything in their kit to avoid it, which is why you don't get as much mileage, because your cooldowns simply take too long to compare to their overall team cooldowns, especially the super. Getting to the super, you have to somewhat succeed. And compared to Bubbles and Wells, that's very, very, very rough considering their kit has practically no weakness anyway. Like, besides the turret being in a perfect place, what do you do against a floating Dawn Blade? Like, what is your kit doing? It handles the bubble pretty decently. I'll tell you that. Let's move to gameplay. Let me show you fragments, mods. And of course, I do recommend conditional. It's likely the player already has it, considering Pantheon's out. And then I just use a long-range machine gun. Alright, friends. Enjoy this video. I will see y'all in the next. First game on for the day. Got the BXR Battler, but you can use like any auto rifle. Witherhoard, if they have conditional finality, that's probably better. And just a machine gun. Using turrets and frostballs. It's a freeze rift. Taking the risk to get timing. I survived. That was not necessary. That wasn't necessary at all. That's just... yeah. This class in a nutshell. The more experience you gain at the game, the more deadly this class becomes. And even if you're not experienced at all, you can just like throw garbage at the floor and sometimes it works out. Which is like what I said in the intro. It's the lure of what makes people want to play this class. Let's back up a little bit to close out this angle. Get a turret, so that doesn't matter what side they peek. Turret's gonna prioritize them. I'm gonna wait to pull this until my teammates are ready. Doing a little bit of recon. So 2 freeze? Or a double freeze? 2 freeze. He's out. He has teammates. Defend B. We're good. Now I'm going to peek where my rift isn't. But then again, you'd be surprised at how many people ego chala rift. I'm not shooting this. It takes too much ammo. If there was like a teammate on it, I would have helped shot, but... Stairs. I'm jumping to get the angle. Since if he slides down, I can't see his head. Ooh, I have full auto on. Someone's close to me though. And now I have the BXR perk, which means I hit like a truck for the next 5 seconds. I miss, of course, but it's fine. Wanted to save my teammate from a potential rubber band. Alright, do I have the time to open settings? Gameplay. Full auto firing is off. I still have a melee ability to use if I have to. And just dance, just dance, just dance. I got LPR'd, no! All good though. Dealt with multiple targets pretty decently. And now a turret comes out for the power ammo again. If they peek, they get slowed, they get deleted. Oh no, that's the whole team. I'll investigate Rockwall with my teammates. That's thinning the herd enough. I'll get active here pretty soon. I might be able to show you killing a bubble if this match goes the distance. But no surprise that map control is usually good when I play this class. Is that a rift? About to use my rift just to heal. It's gonna slow him down, then we're gonna peek. Good on him. I was getting greedy for the potential BXR multi-kill. At a high level, you'll see that more often, where you don't just get to freeze people for free. They anticipate the freeze. Let's move on to the next one. So as soon as you see Wormhaven, alarm bells need to be triggering on you need to get to the middle of the map. That is the most important. And turrets act as extra teammates to put in the middle of the map. So I will throw both of my turrets at the beginning if necessary to convince my teammates to have the courage to go to the middle of the map. I know, unheard of, never been done before. Looks like I have one friend going to B. No, it helps. Well, that sucks. This cold snap is gonna be lethal. Now use that power ammo to stop them. I'm gonna go wide on this peak. There we go. Now we have B control. Why do you not want me in this window? Whatever. Normally when someone puts zoning, they like don't check the doorway anymore because they assume you're not gonna go through it. That's like an Ascendant plus move. I'm okay if I failed there because, like I said, it's a really hard read on opponents to try to play with teammates, and that was a good opportunity to test that. It's not always gonna go your way, but I know that that's more often than not the right choice, is to disrespect their zoning to help your team. And sure, I could have like wide swung this right here, but I figured he was gonna run away up the ramp or something like that. So that's just a good example, and I'll pull out the Microsoft Paint here after this match to show you an example of that concept. Oof, the divinity mattered. Shouldn't have got tagged by that. Okay, now we got a retake. This is where turrets go huge. So I'm gonna go to Guardian. The auto rifle would play so much better on this map. Alright, so this is a cool turret. I used a lot of kit to try to secure mid. I think I have more health than him. This poor Titan. Didn't even know he was there. Oh, this healing rift's gonna go crazy. BXR perk. We take it to the bank. I know I exposed myself to right here. I trusted the radar. Ooh. Ooh, that's a lot of gamers. This is a bad angle, but I do want to Wither Horde this out to buy me time to multi-super. I want this ammo. Now we remove the tether from the hip to keep the radar open. Stay near this orb to heal for the next gunfight. Sure, I'm out in the open, but a quick little walk to the left, and I got my health back. I'm gonna try to be ahead with this turret. I still have a lot of machine gun. Thanks for the BXR. Aw, sad times. I should have used the cold snap there. I just wanted the 2 burst. That was a rough angle to be hitting headshots on that super. I hope my teammates cleaned it up though. Makes me also want to have a hipfire machine gun. Wait, that activates BXR perk? That's new to me. I'm getting snaked. There we go. Yeah, they changed it a while ago so that powered melees activate the perk, but that makes it even better than I thought it was. Is the super dead? Okay, so pulling out the paint. Let's grab our brush. Now we have our guardian thinking thought bubble about what do I think my opponent thinks he wants me to do, or that I'm going to do. And then the second layer on that is this. What do I think my opponent wants to do? And as you get deeper down those layers, it takes longer to think like that in games. And in an FPS game, it's fast. And so usually it's not the best answer that wins. Sometimes it's a bad answer done faster than your opponent can come up to like a second or third layer of this. And so when you die to a very stupid thing like that, this is because opponent thought on the first thought bubble while you were on thought bubble 2 or even thought bubble 3. Make sense? Makes sense. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of that, like, mind games doesn't come into play for, like, the gold ranks or even the ascendant ranks sometimes. Like, the ranking system in this game is a lot easier to max out. But to be fair, I am in a bubble, and a lot of things that I would say players like me take for granted is dexterity, just how good you can aim, FPS mechanics. The game sense part of it comes with just playing Destiny. The game knowledge part comes with playing Destiny, because it's kind of contrary to most FPS games on what is a quote-unquote good play in this game. So I'm not going to say, like, if you play other FPS games that you have a immediate leg up on Destiny as far as game sense and knowledge, but you do with the dexterity. And I don't think the ranking system does a good job of showing what an Ascendant player is. Like, I can queue Ascendant right now, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get teammates or opponents that have any clue what they're doing. What does Bungie use? The term skill delta? Yeah, the skill deltas within Ascendant, since it's maxed, can still be so varied that matches can be exceptional blowouts. So even max rank players aren't well-rounded. They don't fully start doing that layered game sense thinking. They just make gun go burr, and that's good enough to get to the max rank in this game. So similarly, this is for a gold player that is missing something out of their kit, but are making up for it with the ability spam. And obviously you can go for bigger brain plays like I do sometimes in these games. Like the most simplest one is just putting the turret a little bit farther ahead of power ammo to free you up the chance to grab power ammo. That's a very, very easy one that everybody can apply. But as you start getting game knowledge, dexterity, becoming a more well-rounded player, this is a lethal kit that can hang at the highest level. Of course, people know how to bait the cold snap, they know how to bait freezes, bait the healing rift, but once you get a freeze, you can start calculating in your head how quickly you can refreeze them to guarantee the kill. You see like a percentage chart just moving up and up and up and up as you freeze opponents and refreeze opponents till you complete that play. And then sometimes it's about just saving the kit for critical game-swinging moments like fighting a super, and that comes with experience. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the takeaway from this video is you don't have to run through AoEs like I do, because that's not always going to come up, especially if it's truly gold rank. Most people are very intentional with what they do. They're thinking on that first layer of game sense. All right, friends, I'll see you in the next one.